Have you ever wondered, what would you do if someone took away 27 years of your life? Would you come out full of anger, or would you choose forgiveness? This is the story of a man who lost almost everything: his freedom, his family, his youth, but found the strength to forgive, and in doing so, changed a nation forever. In a small village in South Africa, a young boy named Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela ran barefoot across dusty fields. He loved stories. At night, elders told tales of warriors who fought bravely for justice. But as Nelson grew older, he noticed something painful. The world around him wasn't fair. Because of the color of his skin, there were places he couldn't go, books he couldn't read, and dreams he wasn't allowed to have. Still, Nelson dreamed anyway. He dreamed of a South Africa where people, black and white, could live as equals. As a young man, Mandela became a lawyer. He wore sharp suits and stood tall in courtrooms, fighting for people who had no voice. But outside those walls, injustice screamed louder. Apartheid, a system of racial separation, divided the country. Black South Africans were treated like strangers in their own land. Mandela joined the fight for freedom. He organized protests. He gave speeches. And soon, he became a leader in the African National Congress, ANC. But the government saw him as a threat. They arrested him. They put him on trial. And one day, in 1964, Nelson Mandela stood in court, facing life in prison. He said these words to the judge: "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." And then they locked him away. 27 years of darkness. For 27 long years, Mandela lived in a small prison cell on Robben Island. The walls were cold. The air smelled of salt from the sea. Every morning, he woke at 5 a.m. to break rocks under the burning sun. But the hardest part wasn't the work. It was the silence. Not seeing his children grow up, not holding his wife's hand, not knowing if he would ever be free again. Yet, Mandela didn't let prison break him. He read books. He wrote letters. And slowly, he began talking to the guards, the very people enforcing the system that had stolen his freedom. He asked about their families, their hopes, their fears. And in those conversations, something extraordinary happened. The prisoner and the guards became human to each other. In 1990, after nearly 3 decades, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison. The world watched as he raised his fist in the air. But here's what shocked everyone. He didn't call for revenge. He didn't ask for violence. Instead, he said, "As I walked out the door toward my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison." Mandela believed forgiveness was stronger than hate, and he proved it. 4 years later, South Africa held its first democratic election. For the first time, Black South Africans could vote, and they chose Mandela as their president. As leader, he invited his former enemies to the table. He wore the jersey of the national rugby team, a symbol of white South African pride, and cheered for them. He knew if the country didn't heal, it would break apart. And because he chose forgiveness, the nation began to heal. Nelson Mandela gave the world a gift. He showed us that even after unimaginable pain, we can choose love. Because true freedom isn't just walking out of a prison, it's freeing your heart from hate. Because resilience isn't surviving, it's building something beautiful from the broken pieces. And because forgiveness isn't weakness, it's the greatest act of strength. Like this story, subscribe now for more inspiring stories to practice your English